This is another sample of material obtained yesterday from this very bank at the side of the road here at Cutney in Nottinghamshire. But this particular sample of wood chip holds a story, a Nottinghamshire story which goes back almost 200 years. So I'm back here again today to return this sample back to where I found it, which was underneath these mostly beech trees. There, well, it's as good as new. And returning samples is very important. You're not taking anything away or moving anything from one site to another. I do love the sound of rooks. Mentioned it in a recent video, but I think that sound is very evocative of the countryside. It appears on so many films and drama productions on television. And there's a good rookery here. There's probably up to about 100 nests, all up at the top of these beech trees which are in various states of decay. The one just here is totally dead, and there's one just in front of us, of which about 25% of that is dead at the top. Good for beetles here, and good for other invertebrates. This is a site that I'll only occasionally drop into, usually when I think about it, or maybe I've got half an hour to spare. And quite often it's paid to drop in here. I have two nice species of false scorpions and some nice beetles, but in the sample of wood chip that I took the other day, I was hoping for another false scorpion perhaps, but once I'd got through the whole of the carrier bag and down to the dregs, which produced 2 handfuls, placed them out on the tray, out trundled this little Brachysomus echinatus. I knew immediately, as you do, that it's something different and something that I'd not seen before, and it was quite well marked. Only about 3 mm in length, not much more, but markings and the distinguishing features make it relatively easy to identify, but I didn't expect that. And here's the little 3 mm long beetle that was my pot of gold in this particular carrier bag. Brachysomus echinatus, not seen in the county for nearly 200 years. Many of you looking at this will think, well, it wouldn't have mattered if it had been another 200 years. It's hardly the most exciting of invertebrates, but sometimes, in a way that's akin to bird watching, rarity rises above dullness. You can have the dullest looking warbler, and yet thousands of people are attracted to go and twitch it. I don't think anyone will be twitching this. There's nothing much to look at. A lot of the scales on the elytra have worn off in parts, and it's quite reddish underneath, but it's covered in these fine hairs. It's quite distinctive. The only sort of markings that there are on the pronotum there, and there's those 2 broad bands, and they're easily noticeable as a distinguishing feature with a small hand lens. And to be honest, it was quite easy to track down identification of this just by scrolling through various photo galleries on the internet and then looking at it a bit more closely to confirm identification. A pot of gold isn't always gold. Finding Brachysomus echinatus is really quite something. The only other Nottinghamshire record, and I've had this confirmed by the county recorder before filming this, dates back to 1825, back to Clumber Park. How the species in almost 200 years hasn't been found again during the various surveys, I don't know, but it obviously must be genuinely rare in Nottinghamshire. And indeed, on the NBN Atlas, there's not that many records. There's more unconfirmed records than there probably are confirmed records, but at least it goes to show quite an important aspect of invertebrate recording. And it's one of the reasons why I do it. It can be painstaking, and I've mentioned this before, how going through handful after handful of material, not finding anything other than maybe woodlice and a few centipedes, it can seem very sort of daunting, and you tend to, or at least it's easier to lose interest. But the most interesting stuff in any sample, in my experience, is inevitably towards the bottom of the sample, especially if you keep a carrier bag of material for about a day or at least overnight, as I tend to do. That way you can whiz through the top part of the sample and then take a bit more time perhaps as you get nearer the bottom. But in this sample that I took from here, there was genuinely nothing. I got fed up of seeing Porcellio's scale of woodlice. In every handful there were 10 or so, and after a while, as much as I like woodlice, I get a bit fed up of seeing them. Even if the odd other species turns up, like Aniscus ocellus or Thyllosia muscorum, all that does is just break the monotony of finding woodlouse after woodlouse and have them running around the tray. And there was nothing in terms of beetles. I could quite easily have given up halfway through going through this sample because I thought that it was nothing. Sometimes you get a feel that there's not going to be something in the sample, or maybe there is going to be something in the sample. You just get that feeling sometimes, and it makes you carry on, and I'm glad I did in this case. Entered a 200-year wait, or a nigh on 200-year wait, for a 3mm long weevil. But it means that that species, or any species, can go undetected for over a century. Dennis and myself found numerous species again, or refound numerous species again in the Sherwood Forest area that hadn't been recorded for well over a century. It all comes down to the fact that very few people in any county are actually looking for these things. In terms of beetles in Nottinghamshire, 2. Well, Nick and Samantha Brownlee are now steadily getting into beetles, so hopefully we may well get some more interesting records. But when you think of a population of a county, and there will be probably less than 5 people actively recording an order like beetles, when you get to the other orders like woodlice and centipedes and millipedes, you're probably down to 1 person per county, and that's not a lot. So next time you're looking through a sample, or you feel invigorated enough to go and collect a sample and sort through it, bear in mind that there's always that pot of gold waiting at the bottom of a carrier bag.